Because of the devastating Iran-Iraq war from 1980 to 1988, where many people died on both sides, Iran felt that they didn't want that to happen again. And so they wanted to avoid direct conflict by all means. So they decided to do a number of things. One, Saddam Hussein of Iraq used a lot of missiles. Saddam Hussein Iraqi army were well trained. They had more sophisticated weapons. Iran has a larger landmass, a larger population, but the military was not well equipped, So the population and their size was matched with the weaponry and the sophistication of the Iraqi army. And so after that war, Iran felt that they didn't want that to happen again. So they decided to develop their own program. They developed a missile program, a ballistic missile program. And then there's this axis of resistance. It was a principle that was developed by Iranian authorities, including the supreme leader, where they felt that instead of involving the direct conflict, use proxies. You let other people fight your battles. And so Iran now supported and funded militia groups across several countries in the Middle East. So when Israel shares the border with Lebanon, Israel northern border is with Lebanon. And so when there was the Israel-Lebanon war and Israel invaded Lebanon, Iran saw the opportunity and Iran helped to fund the militant group Hezbollah. So Iran funding Hezbollah, sending them weapons and all that, was Hezbollah will not be a proxy. So that if there is a conflict, Hezbollah is closer to Israel than Iran is. And so they will use Hezbollah as a proxy to fight Israel. And Hezbollah was well organized and is their most successful proxy group until now. Now, as they did in Lebanon, they also did that in other countries. They did that in Iraq, where they sponsored Shiite militants. So Shiite groups in other countries like Yemen, like currently the Houthi group in Yemen, Shiite militant groups in several Middle Eastern countries are being funded and supported by Iran so that they will serve as proxies to fight its war. Now, the case of the Palestinians is a little bit different. The Palestinians are Sunnis, and so the militant group Hamas and the Islamic Jihad, they are Sunni Muslims. So, but Iran felt that, never mind. So they also supported Hamas and the Islamic Jihad in their proxy war against Israel. So you now have Iran sponsoring and equipping proxy groups in the Middle East to fight its interests. Iran is opposed to the Sunni majority Saudi Arabia. So you have them sponsoring the Houthis in Yemen against Saudi Arabia domination. You have them supporting Hamas, who are Sunni militants, against Israel, supporting Hezbollah. So they develop this axis of resistance for a number of reasons. Like I've said, they want to fight through proxies and not fight directly because they learned a lot from the Iran-Iraq war. And there is plausible deniability. Like if Hamas does something or Hezbollah, Houthi, Iran can say we are not aware. So there's plausible deniability. And also Syria, they also funded groups in Syria. And when there was the Syrian civil war, they supported Al-Assad, So, and there's this corridor between Iran and the Mediterranean that they maintain through sponsorship of this axis of resistance, So, Iran has been doing this, where they support these proxies. And it has largely been successful, at least from Iran's point of view, until this year, because until 2023, let's say, October 7, 2023, Hamas carried out a devastating attack on Israel. That attack, it has been said, took Iran by surprise and took Hezbollah by surprise. Yes, Iran has been sponsoring and funding, helping Hamas, just as they help Hezbollah and others. But they are not directly involved in every decision making they do. And it seems Hamas, to make it a surprise attack, they limited those they informed about it. But they were hoping that if they carried out the attack, that their allies would also support them. And so they carried out October 7th attack. And of course, a lot of Israelis died and Israel retaliated. So Israel has been occupying Gaza and the Gaza conflict, Hamas hoped that when they were attacking Israel on October 7th, the Hezbollah in the northern border of Israel would also join in, but Hezbollah head off, they didn't really participate because one, they were surprised and they didn't really want to get involved. But after Israel has successfully tried to stem the attacks from Gaza, their eyes now face Hezbollah. So Israel attacked Hezbollah and there was real assault on Hezbollah. They made pagers that Hezbollah uses where they put explosives in those pagers, which were remotely controlled and all that. So Israel attacked Hezbollah. So look at the axis of resistance that Iran had. Hamas, Israel attacked Hamas. Hamas was now weakened. Hezbollah, Israel attacked Hezbollah. Hezbollah was now weakened. Houthis in Yemen, Americans, because the Houthis in Yemen, they have been attacking ships, along that strait, and they be causing a lot of problems for international trade and traffic, So Israel and Americans, they've been attacking, they've been bombing Houthis, Then their ally Syria that had an ally in Iran, now also had, with Hezbollah occupied with war. Hezbollah were supporting the Syrian government, but Al-Assad. Russia supported the Syrian government. Russia was involved in the Russia-Ukraine war. Hezbollah was trying to save his head in Lebanon, So the support that Bashar al-Assad had in Syria weakened, and then the opposition groups, militant groups in Syria, they overthrew Bashar al-Assad. Bashar al-Assad had to leave on exile. So all the axes of resistance that Iran had were weakened. And now Iran was depending on this axis of resistance to prevent a direct confrontation with their enemies. And those axes of resistance were weakened. And that is why people have argued, like CNN anchor Fareed Zakaria has said that Iran spent more resources more time, more energy in building up, in propping up, in supporting proxy groups than in developing its own military, than in developing its own air defense system. And now what happened? Those that Iran depended on, one by one, were taken out, were weakened, and Iran became exposed. It's because of those axes of resistance that weakened. That is why Israel felt it was the time to attack Iran. If those militant groups that Iran was supporting, if they were active, Israel would have thought twice about attacking Iran, because they know that attacking Iran, their neighbors nearby will throw rockets and all that, So Iran, analysts have said that the decision of Iran to rely on the axis of resistance has now shown to be a questionable strategy, because they didn't invest in their own military. Iran has the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, this elite group, when you have military, you have elite group. The regular army of Iran is not as powerful as that Revolutionary Guard Corps, And so you have a situation where now that those that Iran needed, that Iran was hoping would defend it, they are weakened and Iran exposed. And here we are with Israel